Midnight. Two blonde women in matching pink tracksuits pounding on my door like they own the place. The smell of torch smoke and wet gravel fills the canyon air as I grip the old copper key in my pocket, the only thing left from Grandpa's collection. "You're violating canyon aesthetics," the taller one shouts through a megaphone. "Pack your bags now." Her sister waves papers in my face while 20 neighbors with flashlights crowd behind them, like some twisted mob scene. If you're watching Conflict Story, you know, it's never just about a house. The copper key burns against my palm. Grandpa always said, "Keep it close, Tommy. Someday you'll need it." I thought he meant for his old tool shed. Turns out I had no idea what I was holding. 50,000 in fines, the shorter sister screams. "Your solar panels are an eyesore." She's got this clipboard thick as a phone book, every page stamped and official looking. I step onto my porch. Cool night air hits my face, mixing pine scent with their cheap perfume. "Ladies, it's midnight. Whatever this is can wait until—" "No waiting," tall sister cuts me off. "Emergency covenant enforcement. You have 24 hours to comply or face forced removal." 24 hours? For what? Living in the house my grandfather built with his own hands in 1987? The house where I've paid every tax bill, every insurance premium, every damn assessment these canyon people could dream up? Have you ever had that moment when you realize everything you thought you knew was wrong? Standing there in my boxer shorts and old Marines t-shirt, watching my neighbors nod along like I'm some kind of criminal, that moment hit me hard. The crowd behind them murmurs agreement. Mrs. Patterson from next door won't even look at me. Joe from the corner house, guy I helped move furniture last month, he's nodding along like I poisoned his dog. "What exactly am I violating?" I ask, keeping my voice steady. Shorter sister flips through her papers with this smile that makes my skin crawl. Roof color non-compliance, unauthorized solar installation, landscaping violations, fence height infractions, the list goes on. The list goes on. 47 violations in total, she tells me, each one carrying fines that add up to $127,000. For the crime of living in the house I inherited, the way I inherited it. You ever feel like the world just shifted under your feet? Like suddenly everyone's speaking a language you don't understand? That's exactly where I was, copper key digging into my palm, watching two women I'd never met before dictate my future. "The canyon homeowners voted," tall sister announces to the crowd. "Unanimous decision. This property must be brought into compliance or removed." She turns back to me. "Your choice, Mr. Richardson. Pay up or pack up." The torches flicker in the night breeze. 20 faces stare at me with a mixture of pity and disgust. These people, my neighbors for 3 years, suddenly looking at me like I'm some kind of blight on their perfect canyon paradise. But here's what they didn't know about the copper key in my pocket. Here's what I was about to discover myself. And here's what would change everything. The morning sun cuts through my kitchen window like a blade, highlighting the stack of violation notices they shoved under my door. 47 pieces of official-looking paper, each one a fresh kick to the gut. I pour black coffee with shaking hands. The copper key sits on my kitchen table next to the papers, catching the light. Grandpa's voice echoes in my memory. "That key opens more than you think, Tommy." My phone buzzes, text after text, photos of my house from every angle, posted on some neighborhood app I didn't even know existed. The comments make my stomach turn. That finally someone's dealing with that eyesore. Property values dropping because of people like him. Should have been handled years ago. People like him, me, the guy who helped Joe move his couch, the guy who brought Mrs. Patterson soup when she had the flu. The drone appears around 9 a.m., buzzing over my roof like an angry wasp. I step outside and watch it circle, camera focused on every solar panel, every rain gutter, every blade of grass in my yard. The operator stands at the property line, some kid in cargo shorts with expensive equipment. "Hey," I call out, "you need permission to—" "Public airspace," the kid shouts back, documenting code violations for the homeowners association. Code violations. For the solar panels I installed legally 3 years ago. For the fence Grandpa built to regulation height. For the roof color that matches half the houses in this canyon. You know that feeling when someone's rewriting history right in front of your eyes? When black becomes white because enough people say so? That's what I'm watching happen to my life. The kid packs up his drone and drives off in a white Tesla. License plate reads Karen 2. subtle. By noon, the phone calls start. My landscaping guy cancels our monthly service. Sorry, Tommy, can't afford the association hassle. Then my insurance agent calls, voice tight with worry. Tommy, we need to talk. Some concerns about your property status. Concerns about my property status. Translation. The blonde sisters are making calls, spreading poison, turning my simple existence into a liability everyone wants to avoid. The copper key feels heavier in my pocket as I walk the property line. 43 years Grandpa lived here, built this place from nothing, raised my dad here, left it to me with clear title and zero debt. Now, 2 women I never met are trying to price me out of my own inheritance. But something bothers me about their paperwork. All 47 violations dated the same day, yesterday. Like they photographed every inch of my property and reverse-engineered problems to fit their agenda. Have you ever noticed how bullies always hide behind official language? How they dress up theft in legal terminology and call it justice? I spread the notices across my kitchen table, looking for patterns. Solar panel violations, for equipment installed with county permits. Fence infractions for a barrier built to exact specifications. Even my mailbox is apparently non-compliant with some aesthetic standard that didn't exist when I moved in. The afternoon brings visitors. Frank Martinez, the Canyon treasurer, knocks around 3 p.m. Guy's been neighborhood treasurer for 15 years, always seemed decent enough. We've shared beers at block parties, talk shop about property maintenance. Tommy, his voice carries weight I've never heard before. We need to discuss your situation. Situation, not violations, not fines. Situation. Come in, Frank. I gesture toward the living room, where Grandpa's old leather chair still holds the impression of his body. Coffee? This isn't a social call. Frank stays standing, briefcase in hand like he's conducting business. The association voted, emergency session last night. Unanimous decision for immediate compliance enforcement. Unanimous? I taste the word, bitter as burned coffee. All 200 residents just happen to agree I'm a problem? Frank's eyes shift away from mine. The documentation is extensive, Tommy. The aesthetic violations are significant. Documentation. Aesthetic violations. Frank's using their language now, dressed up words for a dressed up mugging. Show me the documentation, Frank. He opens his briefcase with the ceremony of a funeral director. Inside, photographs of my property from angles I didn't know existed. Professional quality shots with timestamps and GPS coordinates. This wasn't some neighbor complaint. This was a military-grade surveillance operation. When were these taken? I ask, studying a photo of my garage door marked with red arrows and violation codes. Over the past 6 months, Frank says, building a case for enforcement action. 6 months, they've been watching me, cataloging my life, building their case while I thought I was just living in my inherited house like a normal human being. The copper key burns in my pocket like a hot coal. Grandpa's words echo again. More than you think, Tommy. Frank closes the briefcase with a sharp click. Payment plan options are available. 60 days to full compliance, or the association initiates removal proceedings. Removal proceedings. Legal theft with a bow on top. And if I refuse? Frank's face goes stone cold. Then you'll discover what unanimous really means. As he walks away, I notice Frank's car parked at the end of my driveway. Same white Tesla I saw this morning. License plate, Karen 1. The treasurer, my neighbor, my supposed friend, he's been working with them all along. Standing in my doorway, watching Frank drive away, the copper key seems to pulse against my leg, like it's trying to tell me something, like Grandpa left me more than just a house and some old memories. But what I was about to discover in his basement would turn everything upside down. The emergency canyon meeting happens Tuesday night at the community center. 200 folding chairs arranged like a courtroom, all eyes on me as I walk through the door. The smell of stale coffee and nervous sweat fills the air, while fluorescent lights buzz overhead like angry insects. I take a seat in the back, copper key heavy in my jacket pocket. The blonde sisters, Karen and Karen, as I've started calling them, sit at a table up front with Frank. Professional presentation setup, projector screen, matching blazers. This isn't some neighborhood dispute anymore. This is war. Ladies and gentlemen, Karen 1 starts, her voice carrying through the microphone with practiced authority. Tonight, we address the aesthetic crisis threatening our canyon community. Aesthetic crisis. They're talking about my house like it's a toxic waste dump. The lights dim and my property fills the projection screen. Aerial shots, ground-level photos, close-ups of every solar panel and fence post. A full forensic analysis of my life reduced to PowerPoint slides. Property values have declined 12% in the immediate vicinity, Karen 2 announces, clicking through charts and graphs that somehow blame my existence for everyone's financial problems. Have you ever sat in a room full of people discussing your life like you're not there? Like you're some abstract problem to be solved rather than a human being who belongs? Mrs. Patterson raises her hand. Sweet old Mrs. Patterson, who used to bring me homemade cookies. The Richardson property has become an embarrassment to our community standards. The same woman whose soup I delivered when she was sick. Now she's calling my home an embarrassment. Joe from the corner house stands up. I support immediate enforcement action. We can't let property values suffer because one owner refuses to maintain community standards. The man whose furniture I helped move just last month, who borrowed my tools and promised to return them. Now he's advocating for my removal. One by one, my neighbors stand to condemn me. People I've helped, shared meals with, considered friends. They recite complaints like rehearsed lines, aesthetic violations, community standards, property values. Every speech sounds identical, like they're reading from the same script. The vote comes at 8:30. All in favor of immediate enforcement action against the Richardson property. Hands rise across the room like a forest of accusations. I count them automatically, 167. More hands than I've ever seen at these meetings. More people than usually care about anything the association does. Opposed? I raise my hand, alone. 200 people in this room, and I'm the only one who thinks maybe, just maybe, this is wrong. Motion carries, Karen 1 announces with satisfaction dripping from her voice. Enforcement begins tomorrow. But something about their performance bothers me. The synchronized speeches, the identical talking points, the sudden appearance of neighbors who've never attended meetings before tonight. As people file out, avoiding my eyes like I'm contagious, I notice things. Karen 2, whispering to people at the door, handing out small cards. Frank collecting contact information from residents who want to stay informed about the situation. This wasn't a community meeting. This was a recruiting drive. Outside in the parking lot, Tyler Morrison approaches me. Young guy, maybe 25, works as a county code inspector. We've chatted a few times about property maintenance, seemed like a decent kid. Mr. Richardson? He glances around nervously, makes sure we're alone. I need to tell you something about those violation notices. What about them? Tyler pulls out his phone, shows me a screenshot. All 47 violations are dated the same day, but look at this. He swipes to another image. The inspection reports show different dates, spread across 6 months, like they claimed. My blood runs cold. What are you saying? Someone backdated the paperwork, made it look like a long-term investigation when it was really a single-day blitz. Tyler pockets his phone quickly. There's something else. The signatures on all the inspection reports, they're identical, like one person signed them all. One person, forged documentation, manufactured evidence. Tyler, why are you telling me this? He looks toward the community center where the blonde sisters are still holding court with a small group of residents. Because my job is about safety and compliance, not whatever this is. This, the systematic destruction of a man's life disguised as community standards. Walking back to my truck, I pass Frank's white Tesla. Through the window, I glimpse a manila folder on his passenger seat. Photos spill out. Pictures of my house, but also something else. Property maps, legal documents, official-looking papers I don't recognize. The copper key throbs in my pocket like a heartbeat. Grandpa's voice whispers in the canyon wind. More than you think, Tommy. Back home, I stand in my living room looking at the same walls, same furniture, same life that existed this morning. But everything's different now. The neighbors I trusted have betrayed me. The community I belong to has expelled me. The home I inherited has become a battlefield. You ever have one of those moments when you realize the game changed while you weren't looking? When the rules you thought you knew got rewritten without your knowledge? I pull out the copper key, really examining it for the first time. Heavy brass, worn smooth by decades of handling. numbers etched along the edge. 1887. Too old to be for Grandpa's tool shed. Too old to be for anything in this canyon. Unless... the basement. Grandpa's basement I've been avoiding since he died. Too many memories down there. Too much grief to process. But if this key opens something from 1887, and Grandpa said it would matter someday, I flip on the basement lights and descend the wooden steps. The smell of dust and old wood fills my nostrils. Grandpa's workbench still holds his tools exactly where he left them. His coffee mug sits beside an unfinished project, waiting for hands that will never return. In the far corner, behind boxes of Christmas decorations and forgotten furniture, stands an old safe I've never paid attention to. Heavy steel construction, combination dial on the front, but also something else. A copper keyhole. My hands shake as I insert Grandpa's key. It turns smoothly, like it's been waiting 40 years for this moment. The safe door swings open with a whisper of ancient hinges. Inside, documents, legal papers yellowed with age, a deed dated 1887 in my great-great-grandfather's name, maps showing property boundaries that extend far beyond my current lot. And at the bottom of the stack, a letter in Grandpa's handwriting. Tommy, if you're reading this, they finally came for what's ours. What I discovered next would change everything I thought I knew about this canyon, these neighbors, and the ground beneath my feet. Grandpa's letter trembles in my hands as I read by the dim basement light. His familiar handwriting tells a story that rewrites everything I thought I knew about this place. Tommy, the canyon was never theirs to divide. Your great-great-grandfather Samuel Richardson purchased the entire valley from the Denver and Rio Grande Railroad in 1887. Every house, every lot, every road they claim to own sits on Richardson land. The smell of old paper and basement dust surrounds me as I spread the documents across Grandpa's workbench. Original railroad deeds, surveyor maps, tax records going back over a century, all bearing the Richardson name. The association thinks they're buying and selling property, I continue reading, but they're really just trading long-term leases that expired last year. I never had the heart to tell them. Figured we could all just live in peace. Peace. While 200 neighbors vote to destroy my life, I'm sitting on documents that prove I own their entire world. My phone buzzes. Text from Tyler Morrison. Meet me at Copper Creek Diner. Found something else you need to see. The diner sits at the canyon entrance, neutral ground between my property and the association's manufactured kingdom. Tyler's already there when I arrive, nursing black coffee in a corner booth. Laptop open, and documents spread across the table. This is bigger than forged inspection reports, he says, sliding a folder across the table. I ran the property records through the county system. Look at this. Inside the folder, printouts show a pattern that makes my skin crawl. Every property in Canyon Creek Estates sold within the last 3 years. Every sale handled by the same real estate company. Every buyer paying 20 to 30% above market value. Mountain Vista Realty. Tyler points to the letterhead. Guess who's listed as the primary sales agent? I don't have to guess. The business card stapled to each contract shows a familiar face. Karen Henderson. Karen 1 from last night's meeting. Not just a concerned neighbor. A real estate agent orchestrating the systematic takeover of my inheritance. She's been flipping the entire canyon, Tyler continues. Buying out longtime residents. Importing buyers who will vote however she wants. Your property is the last piece that doesn't fit her control structure. Control structure. They didn't just happen to hate my house. They manufactured a crisis to eliminate the one person who could challenge their authority. There's more. Tyler opens his laptop, shows me a website I've never seen. Canyon Creek Premium Estates, coming soon. Luxury development featuring canyon views and exclusive amenities. The website displays architectural renderings of my canyon transformed into a gated community. Luxury homes, private golf course, spa facility. And in the corner where my house currently stands, a clubhouse with panoramic windows overlooking the valley. They need your land for the centerpiece, Tyler explains. Can't build their paradise with your house blocking the premier view. Have you ever discovered that your entire reality was someone else's business plan? That people you trusted were just actors playing parts in a scheme to steal your life? I study the renderings more closely. Every detail planned, every amenity marketed, every luxury promised, except for one small problem. They're selling land they don't own. Tyler, when does this development supposedly break ground? He scrolls through the website. Next spring, pre-sales start this winter. This winter? They're already taking money from buyers for a development built on my property. No wonder they need me gone by December. My phone rings. Frank Martinez. I almost don't answer, but curiosity wins over anger. Tommy, we need to talk. His voice carries strain. I didn't hear yesterday. The association board is meeting tonight. Emergency session. Things are escalating. What kind of escalating? Legal action, forced removal proceedings. The sisters are pushing hard for immediate resolution. Frank pauses. I think there's something you should know. Something I should know. From the man who betrayed me to Karen 1 and Karen 2. I'm listening. Not over the phone. Meet me at the old mining road overlook in an hour. And Tommy, come alone. The line goes dead. Tyler looks up from his laptop with concern. That didn't sound friendly. Nothing's been friendly since this started. I gather the documents, feeling the weight of a century's worth of Richardson history in my hands. But maybe it's time to stop being friendly back. The mining road winds up the canyon wall to an overlook that gives a clear view of the entire valley. Frank's Tesla is already there when I arrive, parked at the scenic turnoff, where tourists stop to photograph the canyon. Frank sits on a boulder, looking older than I've ever seen him. 15 years as treasurer, 15 years managing association business, and now he looks like a man carrying weight that might crush him. I never wanted it to go this far, he says without looking at me. How far is it going, Frank? He pulls out his phone, shows me a bank statement. $30,000. That's what they paid me for the association's financial records. Property tax information, assessment history, owner contact details. $30,000, the price of my neighbor's loyalty. They needed inside information to plan their takeover, Frank continues. Tax liens, mortgage status, which owners might be vulnerable to pressure. I thought it was just market research. Market research for a land grab disguised as community standards. Frank, what aren't you telling me? He finally meets my eyes, and I see something there that makes my blood freeze. Fear. Tonight's emergency meeting isn't about enforcement action. They're voting to declare your property abandoned. Allows them to initiate immediate seizure under county ordinances. Abandoned, while I'm living in it, paying taxes on it, fighting for it every single day. On what grounds? Failure to maintain community standards, extended violation of association covenants, threat to public safety. Frank's voice drops to a whisper. Tommy, they've got county officials involved now. Building inspectors, code enforcement, even the sheriff's office. The sheriff's office. They're not just stealing my land. They're using law enforcement to do it. Standing on that overlook, looking down at the canyon that's been in my family for over a century, I understand something that changes everything. This isn't about house aesthetics or community standards or property values. This is about power, about who controls the land and who profits from its development, about turning my inheritance into their investment opportunity. The copper key feels warm in my pocket as Frank drives away, leaving me alone with a valley full of lights below and a sky full of stars above. Grandpa's words echo in the mountain air. More than you think, Tommy. But what I was about to do with that knowledge would shock even me. Thursday morning brings the sound of heavy machinery rumbling up my driveway. Through my kitchen window, I watch a county building inspection truck park beside my mailbox. The smell of diesel exhaust and fresh coffee mixes in the canyon air as 3 men in hard hats climb out with clipboards and measuring equipment. The copper key sits on my kitchen table next to Grandpa's original railroad deed, one document from 1887 that could change everything, if I can survive long enough to use it. My phone buzzes with another text from Tyler. They're moving fast. Inspection scheduled for immediate condemnation. Get out now. Get out now. Run from the land my family has owned for over a century because 2 real estate agents manufactured a crisis. The knock on my door comes at exactly 9 a.m. Sharp, official, designed to intimidate. I open it to find Inspector Williams, a man I've never met, flanked by Karen 1 and a sheriff's deputy I don't recognize. Mr. Richardson, Inspector Williams reads from his clipboard with the enthusiasm of a funeral director. This property has been reported for immediate safety violations. We're here to conduct emergency inspection for potential condemnation. Condemnation, the nuclear option in their arsenal of manufactured emergencies. On what authority? Williams shows me official paperwork, county seals, legal language that sounds impressive and means nothing. Multiple reports of structural integrity issues, electrical hazards, potential health code violations. Have you ever watched someone walk through your home looking for reasons to destroy your life? Measuring doorways like they're building your coffin, photographing perfectly normal fixtures like they're evidence of crimes? Inspector Williams moves through my house with predatory efficiency. Every outlet tested, every beam measured, every corner examined for violations that didn't exist yesterday. Karen 1 follows behind him like a vulture, pointing out concerns that need immediate attention. This electrical panel is outdated, Williams announces, photographing the same panel that passed inspection 3 years ago. The foundation settling in the southwest corner, he continues, marking problems on his clipboard that would require X-ray vision to detect. Potential mold situation in the basement, he concludes after a 30-second glance at Grandpa's workshop. Potential mold situation in the driest basement in Colorado, where Grandpa stored woodworking tools for 40 years without a single moisture problem. Mr. Richardson, this property presents immediate danger to occupants and surrounding community, Williams declares with the finality of a judge's gavel. You have 48 hours to vacate pending full structural assessment. 48 hours, the timeline perfectly aligned with their emergency association vote scheduled for Saturday. Inspector Williams, I say, keeping my voice steady as granite. I'd like to see your credentials. Something flickers in Williams's eyes. Uncertainty. Like he wasn't expecting questions about his authority. My credentials are on file with the county, he deflects, but his hand moves protectively toward his badge. I'm sure they are. I pull out my phone. Let me just call the county building department to confirm this inspection. That won't be necessary, Karen 1 interrupts quickly. Inspector Williams has full authority for emergency assessments. Full authority, from a woman who sells real estate, not someone who works for county government. The sheriff's deputy steps forward, hand resting on his equipment belt. Sir, we need your cooperation with the inspection process. Cooperation, the polite word for submission to theft disguised as law enforcement. But as they continue their manufactured inspection, I notice something that makes my pulse quicken. Inspector Williams keeps consulting a folder of photographs. Interior shots of my house taken from angles that would be impossible during any legitimate inspection. Tyler was right. This isn't an inspection. It's a performance based on intelligence gathered during illegal surveillance. After they leave, I call the county building department directly. The conversation lasts exactly 3 minutes and confirms everything I suspected. Inspector Williams, the county clerk sounds confused. Sir, we don't have anyone by that name on our staff, and we show no inspection requests for your address. No Inspector Williams, no legitimate inspection, no legal authority for anything that just happened in my home. My phone rings immediately. Tyler Morrison, voice tight with urgency. Tommy, you need to see this. Meet me at the courthouse, and bring everything you found in your grandfather's safe. The courthouse parking lot buzzes with afternoon heat and nervous energy. Tyler waits by his truck, laptop open and documents spread across the tailgate like he's conducting mobile warfare against bureaucratic corruption. I ran Williams through the state licensing database, he says without preamble. Real name is Bill Hendricks, not a building inspector. He's a private contractor specializing in property assessment for developers. Property assessment for developers. A hired gun brought in to manufacture the legal justification for seizure. Tyler, how deep does this go? He shows me his laptop screen, email chains between Karen Henderson, Frank Martinez, and someone listed as MV Development LLC. The messages detail a timeline for Richardson property acquisition with specific deadlines for compliance enforcement and removal proceedings. They've been planning this for 8 months, Tyler explains. Every violation notice, every inspection, every association vote, all choreographed to create legal grounds for taking your land. 8 months. While I thought I was living peacefully in my inherited home, 200 neighbors were being recruited to vote me out of existence. There's something else. Tyler's voice drops to a whisper. The sheriff's deputy from this morning, I checked his badge number. He's not county law enforcement. Not county law enforcement. Private security hired to intimidate me with the appearance of legal authority. Standing in that courthouse parking lot, Surrounded by Tyler's evidence of systematic fraud, I finally understand what Grandpa meant about the copper key opening more than I thought. It wasn't just about the safe or the documents inside. It was about opening my eyes to the truth of what I inherited, not just a house or a piece of land, but the power to control an entire community's destiny. The power that Karen 1 and Karen 2 are stealing through manufactured crises and forged authority. Tyler, what's the association's emergency vote about on Saturday? He scrolls through intercepted emails, finds the agenda. Final declaration of abandonment, authorizes immediate seizure under adverse possession statutes. Adverse possession, legal theft of property through systematic occupation and improvement. They're not just voting to remove me, they're voting to claim ownership of land my family has held for over a century. My phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. Last chance. Accept our relocation offer or face the consequences. You have until Saturday. Relocation offer. I never received any relocation offer. But as I drive home through the canyon that bears my family's history in every stone and stream, I'm not thinking about relocation or consequences or Saturday's vote. I'm thinking about what happens when someone mistakes kindness for weakness, when they assume ownership of what was never theirs to take, when they forget that some fights are worth everything you have to give. The copper key grows warm in my pocket as I pull into my driveway for what might be the last time as the rightful owner of Canyon Creek. But what I had planned for Saturday's meeting would remind everyone exactly who owns this land. Friday night, the canyon feels different, quieter, like the land itself is holding its breath before tomorrow's showdown. I sit on my porch with Grandpa's railroad deed spread across my lap, studying every word by lamplight. The smell of pine and distant wood smoke drifts through the darkness as I prepare for the fight of my life. Tyler Morrison's truck crunches up my gravel driveway around 9 p.m. He climbs out carrying a box of documents and the grim expression of a man who's seen too much corruption in 1 week. I brought everything, he says, setting the box on my porch table. Property records, email chains, financial transactions. Enough evidence to bury them all. Everything. The paper trail that proves 2 years of systematic fraud designed to steal my inheritance. Tyler, you know what this could cost you? Your job, your reputation, maybe worse. He looks out across the canyon, lights twinkling in houses built on my family's land. You ever have one of those moments when you realize what kind of person you really are? When staying silent makes you part of the crime? I know exactly what he means. Some fights choose you whether you want them or not. We spend the next 2 hours organizing evidence like generals planning a campaign, bank records showing payments to Frank Martinez, contracts between Karen Henderson and MV Development LLC, communication logs proving the fake inspector scam, everything needed to expose their operation. The association meeting starts at 7 tomorrow, Tyler says, checking his watch. You sure about this approach? Sure about walking into a room full of people who voted to destroy me and revealing that I own the ground beneath their feet? Nothing about this feels sure. Grandpa always said the best defense is a good offense. Tyler nods, gathering his documents. I'll be there, front row, recording everything. He pauses at his truck door. Tommy, these people have been planning this for 2 years. They won't go down easy. Won't go down easy, like I expected them to surrender the millions they've invested in their land grab scheme. After Tyler leaves, I walk my property line one more time. Every fence post, every tree, every rock formation Grandpa showed me as a kid. Stories about great-great-grandfather Samuel, who bought this valley when it was nothing but wilderness and possibility. The railroad needed cash after the silver crash, Grandpa used to say. Samuel needed land to build something lasting. Fair trade for both parties. Fair trade, before lawyers and development companies and homeowner associations turned land ownership into a weapon for stealing from neighbors. Saturday morning arrives gray and cold, autumn threatening early winter in the high country. I dress carefully, clean jeans, button-down shirt, Grandpa's old leather jacket. Not the clothes of a man being evicted, but the uniform of someone who belongs. The copper key goes in my right pocket. Grandpa's deed in my left, Tyler's evidence folder tucked under my arm like a briefcase full of justice. Have you ever walked into a fight knowing it would change your life forever? Knowing that in 2 hours you'll either save your inheritance or lose everything you've ever cared about? The community center parking lot fills early. Cars I recognize from 2 years of neighborhood barbecues and holiday parties. People I considered friends filing in to vote for my destruction. Mrs. Patterson avoids eye contact as she hurries past. Joe from the corner house pretends to check his phone rather than acknowledge me. 200 neighbors who can't bear to face the man they're about to betray. But something's different about tonight's crowd. Faces I don't recognize mixed in with familiar ones. Men in expensive suits, women with designer handbags, people who look like they never lived anywhere near a canyon. "Tommy Richardson," a voice calls from the community center entrance. Karen 1 approaches with the confidence of someone who's already won. "Didn't expect to see you tonight." "Wouldn't miss it for the world, Karen." She smiles with the warmth of a snake. "I hope you'll be reasonable about the vote. No one wants this to get ugly." Ugly, like systematically destroying a man's life with forged documents and manufactured crises. "I'm always reasonable, Karen. Just ask my neighbors." Her smile falters slightly, like she's remembering that reasonable men can also be dangerous when pushed too far. Inside, the community center has been transformed into a courtroom. 200 chairs arranged in precise rows, facing a long table where Karen 1, Karen 2, and Frank Martinez sit like judges preparing for execution. I take my seat in the front row, Tyler beside me with his recording equipment. The evidence folder rests on my lap, like Grandpa's deed once rested on his. "Ladies and gentlemen," Karen 1 calls the meeting to order with ceremonial gravity. "Tonight we resolve the Richardson property crisis once and for all." Crisis. My existence has become their crisis. She presents her case with PowerPoint precision, slides showing my house as an aesthetic threat. Financial projections of property value decline. Legal arguments for adverse possession based on my abandonment of community standards. "The evidence is clear," she concludes. "Thomas Richardson has forfeited his right to ownership through sustained violation of covenant agreements. Forfeited my right to ownership of land my family has owned since before her grandparents were born. All in favor of declaring the Richardson property abandoned and authorizing immediate seizure." Hands rise across the room like tombstones in a graveyard. I count them automatically. 183, more than enough to legitimize their theft. "Motion carries unanimously," Karen 1 announces. "Sheriff's Department will execute seizure orders Monday morning." Sheriff's Department, more fake authority to dress up their crime. Actually, I stand slowly, feeling the weight of 5 generations of Richardson history in my bones. I have something to say. Karen 1's confident mask slips. "Mr. Richardson, the vote is complete. There's nothing more to discuss." I think there is. I pull out Grandpa's railroad deed, yellowed with age but still legally binding. The room falls silent as I unfold it with careful ceremony. "This document," I say, letting my voice carry to every corner of the room, "is the original purchase agreement between the Denver and Rio Grande Railroad and Samuel Richardson, dated March 15, 1887. March 15, 1887. Before Karen Henderson was born, before this community existed, before anyone in this room had any claim to this land. According to this deed," I continue, "Samuel Richardson purchased the entire Canyon Creek Valley. Every lot, every road, every house in this room sits on Richardson property. The silence that follows is deeper than a mine shaft. 200 people processing the possibility that their entire world exists at my discretion. Karen 1 recovers first. "That's impossible. Our property deeds are clear and legal." "Your property deeds," I say, pulling out Tyler's research, "are actually long-term lease agreements that expired in December of last year." December of last year. While they were planning my destruction, they were already living on my land without legal right. Frank Martinez turns pale as bleached bone. Mrs. Patterson's hand flies to her mouth. Joe from the corner house stares at me like I've grown a second head. "Ladies and gentlemen," I address the room, with the calm of a man who finally understands his power. "You've spent 2 years trying to steal my property, but according to these documents, I already own yours. What happens next would change everything forever." The silence in the community center stretches like a held breath until Karen 1 finally finds her voice. "That's ridiculous. Those documents are over a century old. They have no bearing on modern property law." "Actually, they do." I pull out Tyler's legal research, pages of precedent and property law that we spent Friday night reviewing. Colorado follows the doctrine of continuous ownership. Original land grants remain valid unless specifically voided by subsequent legal action. Tyler stands beside me, adding his official voice as county code inspector. I've verified these documents with the state land office. The Richardson family never sold, transferred, or subdivided their original purchase. Every property deed in Canyon Creek is actually a lease agreement with the railroad, later inherited by the Richardson estate. The railroad, the Denver and Rio Grande that needed cash after the silver crash of 1893, selling land to Samuel Richardson that they never had the right to lease to anyone else. Karen, too, jumps to her feet, panic cracking her professional composure. This is some kind of scam. We have clear title to our properties. No, you don't. I spread Tyler's property research across the front table like a general revealing battle plans. Every deed in Canyon Creek contains identical lease language, 99-year terms that expired last December while you were busy trying to steal my house. Have you ever watched a room full of people realize their entire reality was built on someone else's foundation? 200 homeowners discovering they're actually tenants on land they thought they owned? Mrs. Patterson stands shakily, her voice barely a whisper. Tommy, what does this mean for us? What does it mean? That's the $60 million question that will determine whether I'm the neighborhood savior or the canyon dictator. It means, I say, looking at faces that have ranged from friendly to hostile to terrified over the past week, that we need to have an honest conversation about community and respect and what it means to be neighbors. Frank Martinez rises from the board table, his face gray as winter clouds. Tommy, I need to tell everyone something. His voice carries the weight of guilt that's been crushing him for months. The sisters paid me $30,000 for association financial records. This whole enforcement campaign was planned to force Tommy out so they could develop his land. $30,000, the price of Frank's betrayal laid bare for the entire community. The fake inspector, the manufactured violations, the emergency votes, Frank continues, each confession hitting the room like a hammer blow. All designed to create legal grounds for seizing Tommy's property and clearing the way for luxury development. Luxury development. Karen one's face goes white as she realizes Frank is destroying their careful facade with truth. Frank's confused, she says desperately. There was never any development plan. Canyon Creek Premium Estates, Tyler interrupts, pulling out printed pages from their website. Luxury homes starting at $2 million, golf course, spa facilities, exclusive canyon views, pre-sales scheduled to begin next month on land you don't actually own. Pre-sales. They were already taking money from buyers for a development built on my family's inheritance. The room erupts in angry voices as neighbors understand they've been manipulated into attacking an innocent man to benefit a real estate scam. 2 years of carefully orchestrated community warfare collapsing under the weight of exposed truth. What do you want from us? Joe from the corner house asks, his voice heavy with shame. The same man who spoke against me at every meeting, now understanding he was played for a fool. What do I want? That's the question I've been wrestling with since I found Grandpa's documents. The choice between justice and mercy, between punishment and forgiveness. I could evict them all. 200 families forced to leave homes they thought they owned. Payback for 2 years of systematic harassment. Legal revenge served cold and comprehensive. I could sell to developers myself. $40 million for land that's been in my family for over a century. Enough money to live anywhere in the world while Canyon Creek becomes someone else's luxury playground. Or I could choose the harder path that Grandpa would have wanted. Here's what's going to happen, I announce, feeling the copper key warm in my pocket like Grandpa's blessing. I'm going to honor the original lease agreements at their 1887 rates, adjusted for inflation. That comes to about $50 per month per lot. $50 per month for properties they've been paying $2,000 monthly mortgages to own. In return, I continue, the homeowner association is dissolved immediately. No more covenant enforcement, no more aesthetic committees, no more votes about who belongs in this canyon. We're going back to being neighbors instead of judges. The relief in the room is palpable as 200 people understand they're not losing their homes. But I'm not finished. Karen and Karen Henderson. I turn to face the sisters whose greed started this entire nightmare. You have 48 hours to leave Canyon Creek. Your lease agreements are terminated for fraud and attempted theft. Karen 1 opens her mouth to protest, but Tyler steps forward with his recording equipment. I have documented evidence of conspiracy to commit property fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy to defraud county government, he announces. The district attorney is very interested in your operation. The district attorney, real law enforcement, not the fake authority they use to terrorize me. The sisters leave without another word, their luxury development dreams crashing around them like houses built on quicksand. As the meeting breaks up, neighbors approach me with expressions ranging from shame to gratitude to confusion. Mrs. Patterson takes my hands in hers, tears streaming down her weathered cheeks. Tommy, I'm so sorry. We were scared about property values and... She trails off, unable to explain how fear turned her into someone she didn't recognize. I know, Mrs. Patterson. Fear makes people do things they never thought possible. Joe from the corner house shakes my hand with the grip of a man seeking forgiveness. Your tools are still in my garage. I'll bring them back tomorrow. Tools borrowed in friendship, returned in redemption. Frank Martinez approaches last, carrying the weight of his betrayal like stones in his pockets. Tommy, I don't expect forgiveness, but I want you to know I never thought it would go this far. Never thought it would go this far. The excuse of everyone who enables evil through inaction. Frank, you're still treasurer if you want the job. $50 lease payments should be easier to manage than $100,000 violation schemes. Walking out of the community center, Tyler falls into step beside me. You know you just gave up $40 million in development rights? $40 million. More money than 5 generations of my family ever imagined. Tyler, some things are worth more than money. Like what? I look up at the canyon walls that have sheltered Richardson family dreams for over a century. The stars overhead shine with the same light that guided great-great-grandfather Samuel when he first claimed this valley. Like home, like community, like honoring the people who came before us and protecting the land for those who come after. The copper key rests quiet in my pocket now, its purpose finally fulfilled. Not just opening a safe or revealing documents, but opening the door to understanding what inheritance really means. It's not about owning property, it's about being worthy of what you've been given. 6 months later, Canyon Creek feels like home again. Neighbors wave from their gardens, kids play in the streets without fear of citation, and Mrs. Patterson brings me cookies made with genuine affection instead of guilty obligation. The $50 lease payments provide enough income to maintain the roads and common areas without the oppressive bureaucracy that nearly destroyed us all. People fix their houses because they want to, not because some committee demands compliance. And sometimes, late at night when the canyon is quiet and the stars are bright, I sit on my porch with a beer and listen to Grandpa's voice carried on the mountain wind. More than you think, Tommy. Always more than you think. The copper key sits on my mantle now, waiting for the next Richardson who might need to discover what they've really inherited. Because the greatest gift isn't the land itself. It's understanding that some things are worth fighting for, no matter what it costs. Some battles choose you, and when they do, you better be ready to choose them back.